In today's video, we're going to go ahead and take a look at 10 full art trainer cards as well as 10 full art Pokemon cards that are the most valuable from the Sword and Shield era as of right now. We're going to go ahead and take a look at their price trends over the last year, where they are right now, and where they could go. Let's go ahead and take a look. Alright, so let's begin with the full art trainer cards. In the number 10 spot, we have the Lance full art from Silver Tempest. So, 1 year ago, this card was valued at $3.97, and it kind of maintained that value throughout the whole year, pretty much up until April 8th, where it dropped down to $2.46. However, the next week, April 15th, it saw a massive value spike hitting $15.78, with its high on April 22nd at $16.30. It dropped down a bit to $14.27, but that's where it's going to remain for now. And honestly, I could totally see this card staying around that price, going up to the $15 mark, maybe rising up a little bit more. I don't see it going past $20 in the near future to the moderate future, but definitely it's going to linger around the $15 mark. Coming up next, in the number 9 spot, we have the Flannery Full Art from Chilling Reign. 1 year ago, this card was valued at $18.21. June 12th is where it hit its high at $21.22. However, since then, it looks like it's had an overall downward trend with a bit of a rocky road getting there, occasionally bumping up in price, but then just falling back down. It hit its yearly low recently, actually, on April 22nd at $14.24. It looks like it might be stable here at $14.59, but it's definitely not quite the $21.22 that it was on June 12th of last year. However, I do see this card going up in value, especially considering the set it comes from, which is Chilling Reign, which is in competition, in my opinion, for the number 2 most valuable or sought after set in the Sword and Shield era. It's in competition. There's a lot of sets that are vying for that spot. Believe me, you have Lost Origin, you have Fusion Strike, etc., etc. Anyways, I digress, but this card I can see going up to maybe the $20 mark as well within the near to moderate future. Coming up next, we have the Serena Full Art from Silver Tempest. So 1 year ago, Serena was valued at $37.51. Shortly after that, it actually hit its yearly high at $39.47. However, it did have a pretty strong dip downwards. Again, a bit of a rocky road there, but it has ultimately trended downwards, and it looks like it hit its yearly low here on February 5th at $15.70. It looked like it was going to spike back up, say here March 18th, $20.48, but has since fallen back down, and right now it looks like it's at $16.40. Right now, Silver Tempest is in a funny position where it's one of the last Sword and Shield sets to remain on shelves and one you can buy off the Pokemon Center, MSRP, etc. So I think until Silver Tempest fully gets phased out and it's kind of hanging out at that price point for a little bit, then I can see this card going up, but I think it's going to be more of a moderate to the far future, where this card sees a value extension to $20, $25, etc. But I think we have to wait a little bit to get there. Coming up next, we have the Clara Full Art from Chilling Reign. 1 year ago, Clara was valued at $33.33. Shortly thereafter, it hit its yearly high of $34.75. However, similar to the last few cards we've been seeing, it has ultimately trended downwards with a bit of a rocky road. A few bumps and spikes in its price here and there, like for example on August 28th, bumped up to $31.50, but then shortly after that, October 2nd, goes back down to $25.94. October 16th goes up to $28. So ultimately a downward trend though, and it looks like right now we're in its yearly low, sitting at $17.30. I do see this card potentially going up in value to probably the $20 mark within the near to moderate future. 25 plus would be in the more extended future, but I'm not entirely sure if I would really be comfortable making that call of a 25 plus for this card, but $20 is definitely safe. I don't really see it trending more down, but $20 is where I'm going to be comfortable making my prediction at. Coming up next, we have the Alessa Sparkle Full Art from Crown Zenith. 1 year ago, Alessa Sparkle was valued at $17.41. Shortly thereafter, again, which is an interesting trend that after the 1 year mark, like within the next few weeks, we see it hitting its yearly high. I actually find that very interesting. Around July 10th, it had a value of $28.08. And again, I'm going to sound like a broken record here. It looks like through a rocky road, it travels downwards in general. Like its trend is downwards, but it does have spikes and drops in its value while hitting there. So for example, right, you have your yearly high 2808, kind of goes down here August 14th, 2473, small spike up to 2518, goes down to 23, small spike up to 24. So yeah, it's just very interesting. And then over here, you know, it looked like it was making a bit of a resurgence on November 20th, $22.14. As prior to that, it was $20.31. But ultimately continues to trend downwards, where it hit its yearly low on February 5th at $16.87. Sorry, its yearly low is actually here on April 29th, $16.57. But essentially, right now it's staying at around the $17.41 mark. It looks like it might be stable here. Let's see though. I mean, Crown Zenith is still getting pumped onto shelves. It's still lingering around on these stores. I don't see this card having a value increase within the near future. Again, similar to Silver Tempest, I think we have to wait a little bit to get this card up in value. I'm going to say probably the next year to 2 years. Then we might see an increase to the $20, $25 mark. I think it'll take a little bit longer, just until Crown Zenith is fully phased out. Coming up next, we have the Irida Full Art from Astral Radiance. 1 year ago, Irida was valued at $26.87. Again, following the trends, it hit its yearly high shortly thereafter on June 26th at $31.83, and then ultimately just travels downward. I guess the big evidence here is that between September and, well, we'll probably say August and January, probably not even January, probably even further, August and like March, there was just such a huge dip in the market for Pokemon. I guess a lot of people were leaving the hobby, and so that's why we see a lot of downward trends coming off after that. The market was probably really hot in last summer/spring, and then it just starts to dip down in the fall and just takes a nosedive in the wintertime. But yeah, essentially, high was on June 26th, 31.83, goes downwards, hits its yearly low here, 18.85 on January 29th. It does go up a little bit in price since then. It actually crosses over the $20 threshold, where it's residing right now at $22.08. Will it remain there? Will it go up? I mean, it's from Astral Radiance. Astral Radiance has pretty much almost been completely wiped out off the PokemonCenter.com. It's a little bit harder to find than, say, Silver Tempest and Crown Zenith and Lost Origin off of store shelves. What will we see though with this card? I see $25 within the near to moderate future. I'll say within the next few months to the year. I can see it hitting $25. That's a very safe bet. $30, I don't know if this card will ever go up to 30. It could, but I think that's a far future. That's a very far in the future. Next up, we have the Caitlyn Full Art from Chilling Reign. 1 year ago, Caitlyn was valued at $25.28. Hits its yearly high here on July 24th. July 24th at $34.16. July 17th, $34.16. Has an overall downward trend. It kind of survives a little bit into September, as we can see here. Like, it doesn't have a massive nosedive as we've seen previous cards have, but then shortly thereafter in the fall time, we do see a bit of a nosedive where it hit its low here on December 11th at $23.27. It almost had a resurgence, kind of going up a little bit here January 22nd to $25.72. It looks like right now it's going to stay at the $24.87 mark for a little bit, probably lingering around the $25 mark. Again, it comes from Chilling Reign. I think Chilling Reign is going to see a massive boost in popularity relatively soon, definitely within the next year. So I can see this card going up to the $30 mark. Beyond that, I mean, Caitlyn is a very popular trainer, I believe. So I could see it going even further than the $30 mark, $35, $40. But for now, we'll say around the $30 mark for the near to moderate future. All right, the number 3 spot for the full art trainers, we have Sonya from Rebel Clash. Sonya had a value of $28.43 as of 1 year ago. June 12th, hit its yearly high at $55.83. However, did come crashing back down to earth, has a few spikes and dips in its price, but ultimately trends downwards. Right now, it's just past its yearly low, where it was $24.44 and now it's $24.82. The issue is with Rebel Clash. It's not a particularly sought after set. Honestly, once you get to the alt art cards, that's when you really start to see a big spike in popularity and value for these sets. And I think just the first four or so main sets, the first four main sets, they're just not going to hold that same, value and adoration that Battle Styles onwards have. And even Battle Styles, I don't even know. I think Battle Styles is definitely slept on right now, but it has not improved in price at all, even though it's been long phased out. Anyways, I'm rambling, but essentially, I just don't see Sonya really having that spunk to get back up to that $55 mark. I could see $30 within the near future, maybe $35 within the next few years, but I don't see it having a full relapse in price, but time will only tell. All right, in the number 2 spot, we have the Marnie Full Art card from Sword and Shield base. So 1 year ago, Marnie was valued at $65.19. It hit its yearly high on July 3rd at $81.05. Again, takes a big nosedive throughout the rest of the summer / the fall, and continues to not really maintain a higher value throughout the winter time. Hits its yearly low here, on April 1st, $35.11. Right now, it's stable at around $38.18. Will we see this card go up in value? It's a little tricky. Sword and Shield base doesn't really have that amazing and enticing pulls. I mean, Marnie is certainly a popular trainer, but for sure it'll go up to $40. I mean, I don't think that's really a question. I think in the near future it will go up to $40, but will it go back up to $50? Will it reach that high of $80 again? I think way in the future it could. It has that potential, but I think just for the near future, people are going to be more focusing on Chilling Reign onwards, and I don't think Sword and Shield base is going to necessarily receive, at least the singles from Sword and Shield base aren't necessarily going to receive the same kind of love. So $40, $45, sure, but 50 plus I think is a little questionable. All right, and the top spot for full art trainer cards from the Sword and Shield era, we have the Boss's Orders from Rebel Clash. Did you think it was going to be a male Pokemon trainer for the full art trainers? I did not, but that's interesting. So we have Giovanni here, Boss's Orders, Rebel Clash. 1 year ago, this card was valued at $41.09. This card actually has interesting data to it. It's different. I think we've seen a big trend with the last 9 cards, but this one we actually see some different trends. So actually dips down immediately in July, goes down even further in August, $34.48, spikes back up a little bit in October, hits its yearly low here though in December 4th, $33.41, but begins to climb its way up, which is very, very interesting. And it hits its yearly high here, April 15th, $45.64, which is pretty good for a full art trainer card for sure. And right now it looks like it's maintaining its price at $44.70. So what's gonna happen with Boss's Orders? I do know that the Boss's Orders is probably the most popular card. I'm pretty sure, I know it's top 2 from Rebel Clash, definitely top 3, probably top 2, might be top most card from Rebel Clash, I'm not exactly sure, but $44.70 is certainly a nice price. Probably could reach the $50 mark. I know sealed product for Rebel Clash is kind of going crazy right now. Unfortunately, the singles are not following suit, but I know sealed product is going pretty crazy. So who knows, it could help to bell curve the singles, like for example, what we see with Boss's Orders. But Giovanni is obviously pretty iconic. I could see it for sure. No, I don't want to use absolutes. I know I've been using absolutes, but I could see it going up to $50. Do I see it going 55 plus, 60 plus? It's a little tricky. It is a little tricky. I don't think so. I don't know if this card has that potential to go past the $55 mark. Maybe for a little bit. As we could see, it hasn't really reached that price point within the last year. But, you know, you never really do know, especially with, you know, the popularity of collecting sealed for Sword and Shield. Who knows? Singles could follow suit relatively quickly. So 50 plus for sure. 55 is a little tricky. All right, we're moving on to the full art Pokemon cards, if that makes sense. The ones that actually feature Pokemon. So in the number 10 spot, we have the Pikachu V full art from Vivid Voltage. 1 year ago, Pikachu V was valued at $16.91. And it actually hits its high on June 5th at $16.95. Does a massive nosedive down. Doesn't really dilly-dally, actually. Normally with the the full art trainer cards, we saw pretty big spikes in value on its way down, looking like it was going to make a bit of a rebound. But this one, not really. This one kind of just doesn't mess around. And it goes down to $10.93 on November 6th. Which is where it kind of has its spike back up, November 20th, $11.69, but doesn't really look like it's doing much there. Kind of goes back up a little bit on April 1st, $12.33, but does ultimately swoop back down where it looks like it might be stable here at the $10.82 mark. So the tricky part with full art Pokemon cards is that the artwork isn't as good, in my opinion, and I think this is the opinion of a lot of collectors. The artwork is not as good as the full art trainer cards, so I think that's where a lot of these cards kind of have a disadvantage in terms of their value compared to the full art trainer cards. I just don't really see the full art Pokemon cards. Not a lot of them have the same potential as the full art trainer cards. So right now this card's sitting at $10.82. Vivid Voltage is not an extremely popular set. Again, it's just before the alternate art era. So the big pull is the Pikachu VMAX Rainbow Rare, which definitely helps this Pikachu card. $15 is a little bit of a stretch in my opinion of the near to moderate future. I kind of see this card lingering around the $10 mark. Might go up to like 12. I know that's not a crazy difference, but I don't see it going back up to the almost $17 mark for a very long time personally. Then in the number 9 spot, we have the Espeon V full art card from Evolving Skies. So I know I said a whole spiel about, you know, full art cards from the different eras of Sword and Shield, the different sets of Sword and Shield and how they're disadvantaged, but I will make an exception probably for Evolving Skies, and I'll let you know why in a second. 1 year ago, this card was valued at $10.31. Goes down, ultimately a downward trend, spikes back up a little bit October 9th, $9.23. Hits its yearly low here, though, on November 6th at $7.05, but has since been on the come up, hitting its yearly high here on April 15th, $11.36, and it looks like it might maintain around the $11 mark, as right now it's sitting at $11.29. Evolving Skies is subjectively and pretty much objectively the best set from the Sword and Shield era, and I totally see a lot of the cards from that set getting bell curved because of not only that Umbreon, but just sealed product in general, the Rayquaza, just everything about this set. The values are all going upwards, and it doesn't look like there's any signs of it slowing down. And so I think even the more like moderate pulls, like the full arts, I think they're gonna follow suit, and you'll see on this list that there's definitely more Evolving Skies to come. So I see $15 in the moderate future for this card. The near future, maybe not so much, but I think within the next year, I see this card going up to 15. I don't quite want to make a call on its cap, what I think it will go up to, but I think 15 is a safe call. Next up on the list, we have the Jolteon V full art from, again, Evolving Skies. 1 year ago, this card was valued at $9.53, has a pretty big tank in price right after that at $7.19. It's not that big actually, but I guess relative to this graph. But yeah, then it looks like it tries to make its way back up, going up to $8.68, but drops down to its yearly low here on October 2nd at $6.02. Does climb upwards though, ultimately, where it hits its yearly high here on April 29th, $11.78. And it looks like it's stable around $11.66, similar to that Espeon we saw. I see this card again. I'm going to make the same prediction as the Espeon. The moderate future, I can see $15. Beyond that, the far future is a little tough to tell. A full art card isn't that crazy of a pull, so I don't know. I don't want to go 25 plus. 20 is probably going to be these cards' cap, but $15 I think is a safe bet. Well, would you look at that? The next card we have, the Sylveon V Full Art from Evolving Skies. So 1 year ago, this card was valued at $12.67. Ultimately kind of has a downward trend with some spikes and some bumps trying to bring it back up, but it does go down, hits its yearly low here December 18th, $8.92. Has a bit of a resurgence though in January, on the 8th going to $11, February 5th, $11.33, but does drop back down to $9.83. Ultimately now though, it looks like it's stable at around the close to $12 mark, $11.95. I'm going to sound like a broken record, and it might even be for the next card too. $15, and then probably after that, $20 might be its cap, $25, but $15 for the moderate future. And yet again, the next card is from Evolving Skies. We have the Glaceon V Full Art card this time. I've actually pulled this card, as a little side note, I pulled this card in a few different languages, which is pretty cool. This might be like my most pulled Evolution card probably, but anyways, 1 year ago, this card is valued at $9.31. Drops down almost immediately, June 5th, $7.61. Again, not a crazy drop, but I guess relative to the graph, kind of has a slower downward trend, tries to rebound back here November 27th, $8.18, but does drop down to its yearly low on Christmas, December 25th, $6.93, but does have a pretty good climb back up where it hits its, is it in its high right now? It's in its high right now, very nice. Where it hits its almost yearly high on April 8th, $12.76. Goes down a little bit to $11.65, but right now it's in its high at $12.91, and it doesn't really look like there's much signs that it's slowing down. Again, gonna make that call. $15. I might even go a little bit beyond that for the moderate future. Maybe I'll go $17, $17.50. And then for the far future, probably a cap of 20. You might be pressing on 25 for this one, but to be completely honest, I kind of see most of the evolutions at around the same price point. They're probably all going to linger. Obviously, your Umbreon is going to be even more. And then one of the OG3 I can see surpassing the rest of the evolutions, probably Vaporeon, which is a little bit of a foreshadow, but anyways, yeah, this card, $15 mark, moderate future, probably near future to be honest. Moderate future, $17.50, maybe even $20. Coming up next from Evolving Skies, but not an evolution, we have the Rayquaza V. 1 year ago, Rayquaza V was valued at $12.80. Does have a pretty big dip downwards where it's hit its low probably here on October 7th of $8.67. Yeah, that is its low, but just by a bit. It was $8.69 here. Does start its climb back up pretty immediately though through the late fall to the winter time. Goes back up to even here on January 15th, $12.26. Does a little bit of a dip. Goes back up, $12.29. Does a little bit of a dip. And then here on April 8th, it hit its yearly high at $14.64. Falls down a little bit, but it looks like it's going to maintain around the $13.53 mark as of right now. I think Rayquaza might be a little bit of a hot take, but I think the Rayquaza has more potential than the regular evolutions that are not Umbreon. And I think it's probably not a hot take. That might be kind of, I don't know, the general thinking, but it's just a legendary Gen 3. It's probably a very beloved legendary. I know I love it. I'm trying not to be biased as well, but it's a very good card. It's a very good Pokemon. I'm pretty sure historically Rayquaza has had a lot of success when it comes to its value and just value increase. So I could see this card going up to the $20 mark within the near to moderate future. Again, just as Evolving Skies continues to climb, definitely see this card continuing to increase its trend in value. Where its cap would be is, I don't know, I don't really see it going past the $25 mark. Even 25 feels a little crazy to say. You never really know though, but $20 within the near to moderate future. Coming up next, we have the Ninetales V Full Art from Rebel Clash. We finally have a little bit of a break from Evolving Skies. As a side note, maybe I'm just not fully invested in the lore behind this card, but I'm not entirely sure why Ninetales V from Rebel Clash is so popular. I know it's a pretty popular card. I don't know if it's hard to grade, or I don't know if it's just like a crazy pull rate or something. I know it's a very pretty looking card, but I'm not exactly sure why it has the value that it has. If you know, I'd love to know. I'm genuinely curious. But 1 year ago, this card was valued at $15.09, and it actually has an overall upward trend since then, going up to July 3rd, $16.58. Has a slow and bumpy downward trend, even going down November 13th to $15.21. Does go back up on Christmas to $16.02. Kind of has, again, those big peaks and valleys, but on March 18th, $16.02 again, but this card just kind of tanked after that. Again, tank is subjective to the data, because as you can see, I mean, from $16 to, I don't know, what is that, $13.83 isn't really that crazy of a price drop. But right now it's at the $13.83 mark. And to be completely honest with you, with this card, it's really difficult to make a call, because I never really would have put Ninetales as a very, like, it's a popular Pokemon, it's an OG 151 obviously, but I don't know, to put it on this top list is kind of very interesting to me, and there's got to be a reason why it's here. Maybe it's just like a really hard card to grade, or maybe it's just people like this card from Rebel Clash. I'm really not sure, but it's a little hard for me to make a call. I'm going to be on the safer side and say it probably would go back up to the $15 mark, but beyond that is a little tricky. I'm really not sure. Alright, the third most valuable card for the Pokemon cards on this list is the Vaporeon V Full Art card from, you guessed it, Evolving Skies. So, 1 year ago this card was valued at $11.24. The next week drops down to $9.99, and then shortly after that goes back up to $11.78, and ultimately it kind of looks like it goes slightly up, slightly down, hitting its yearly low here on October 16th at $9.79, and then, like the reverse that we've seen from this list, it actually has some peaks and troughs going upwards this time, where every so often, every couple of weeks, it has a bump in value, and then right after that, it kind of drops down. Like for example here, 1161 drops down to 1094, then over here, 1315, 1271, 1338, 1245, but ultimately it has trended upwards, where right now it's sitting at $15.19. I'm comfortable with saying this card will likely reach the $20 mark within the near to moderate future. Beyond that, potentially $25. It's a very pretty card. I remember paying $10 Canadian, which is definitely way less than $15 American, for this card on eBay, so it's really interesting to see its value increase within the last 2 years, I think is what that was. So I can see this card reaching $20 within the near to moderate future. Beyond that, 25 would be a difficult call, but you never really know. Evolutions have, especially I think the first three, Umbreon and Espeon, they tend to be the more popular evolutions, so I could see those performing better than the other evolutions, but we'll kind of take a guess at that. This, I don't know, $30 is it feels a little too much for the moderate to far future, but you never really know. I think 25 would be a safe bet, but who knows? Maybe it could be 30 one day, but we're going to stay safe right now. $20 for the near to moderate. All right, in the number 2 most valuable spot, we have the Charizard V Full Art card from Brilliant Stars. 1 year ago, the Charizard card was valued at $22.15. Shortly thereafter, hits its yearly high, $22.58. Dips back down, spikes back up, $22.20, dips back down, but then has a massive dip downwards where it hit its yearly low here on November 13th, $14.43. Tries to climb up a bit, and it does actually. It kind of goes back up to $17.77. Drops down a little bit here, $16.50 on February 19th, climbs back up, $17.95 April 22nd. But right now, it looks like it's lingering at around $16.95 or the $17 mark. Charizard is a very interesting card. We haven't gotten to experience it yet on this list. Charizard has a tendency to kind of rebound back up or do well on its own, right? It's similar to Umbreon, where, you know, if you just kind of hold off on it long enough, it will go up in value. But I don't know, it's not a particularly sought after card from the Sword and Shield era compared to its alternate art counterparts or its rainbow rare counterparts, shiny, whatever. But I don't know, I think this card, $20 for sure, $20 for sure in the near to moderate future. Brilliant Stars, the tricky part is, again, there's a little bit left on shelves in MSRP stores, your big box stores, your card shops. There's a little bit left on shelves, so it's a little tricky right now to make a call on it until those fully go away. With the alternate art in place, I don't really see this card going up to crazy values. $20, it'll likely hit $20 within the near future. Beyond that, $25, $30 might be its cap for the moderate to far future. But you never, again, it's just really tricky with the Charizard. They have a really crazy tendency to surprise you with their prices. All right, and finishing up this list, did you expect it to be this card? I don't know that I did, but it totally makes sense in hindsight. We have the Umbreon V Full Art card from Evolving Skies. So 1 year ago, this card started at $18.82. Then it went up shortly thereafter to $20.79, kind of dropped back down to $17.64. And we see that trend happen for the next few months where it kind of has a spike in value, $20, and then drops down to $17.50, and then $20, and then $18. But hit its yearly high here on April 1st, $24.96, but it did drop back down to $21.58. But it looks like it's going to maintain its value around here on May 10th, $22.20. Now, Umbreon, right? It is very identical to the Charizard, where on its own, this card will perform very well. And I think coming from Evolving Skies, this card certainly has a better looking future than the Charizard does from Brilliant Stars. I think, as we can see, we see a trickle down kind of collectability to this card, where if people can acquire the Umbreon VMAX alternate art, they go for the Umbreon V alternate art. And if people can't acquire that, I think this card will get picked up. So I don't know, it might be a pretty crazy prediction. I see this $30. I think $30 is not a crazy I don't think $30 is that insane for this card to reach. But beyond that, I could see this card, believe it or not, I know it's just a full art card, I could see it having a really high ceiling. I'm talking $40, maybe $50. This is in the way future though. Like I'm not talking next week, I'm not talking next year, I'm not even talking 2 years, I'm talking probably the next 3 to 5, which is a long time to hold on to this card for, but that's what investing really is all about. But I can see this card having a pretty high ceiling, $40, $50, etc. So that was a list of the top 10 most valuable full art trainer cards and the top 10 most valuable Pokemon cards and their trends over the last year with terms of their value, as well as where we predict they might go. Now, some of these were a little easier than others. Again, when you have Evolving Skies, you know that most of those cards are going to get bell curved up anyways. Then you have sets like Rebel Clash, the Ninetales, where it's like, I'm not entirely sure what your future will be, right? I mean, Rebel Clash, not a very popular set, not a very popular set that people want to get pulls from, right? And then you have, say, a card like Charizard, where, you know, it comes from Brilliant Stars. Brilliant Stars is a fun set to open, but, you know, compared to the cards that are in that set, is the Charizard going to be so sought after? Will it have the same effect that I feel like the Umbreon Full Art card from Evolving Skies will have, where eventually it'll go down the line and people will start to settle for the full art? So that's the tricky part. And then when you flip the coin for the full art trainer cards and what happens with those, the artwork is just simply fantastic, but a lot of people, they like Pokemon for the Pokemon. They don't really enjoy Pokemon for the trainers. Some people do, but I think the Pokemon will have a higher ceiling, some of them anyways, compared to the best card here, which is the Boss's Orders. But right now, the Boss's Orders and the Marnie are doing better than the Umbreon and the Charizard. So I don't know. We will see. I think the moral of the story is that all of this stuff is pretty collectible right now. And who knows? I really do think we will see a value increase for a lot of these cards. How much that value goes up by will be determined by how sought after Sword and Shield is within the next few months to the years. So we'll see. Let me know down below what you thought of this list. What cards do you think will go up? What cards do you think will go down? I'd love to know, and I'll catch you in the next one.